We are here this morning with Dr. Keith Stanfill. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Keith, for being with us this morning.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure.
We're working on a series of interviews on a very important program at the University of Florida. It is called the Integrated Product and Process Design Program. And Keith, I'm going to start by asking you about your work in the program, and during the course of the interview, we'll ask you to kind of reflect on the growth of the program, the impact it's made on students here at the University of Florida, and also the broader impacts that it's made on society, innovation, so on and so forth. And I wonder if we could start with, you have been working with a colleague, a number of colleagues, but I wanted to start by asking you about Heinz Fridrich. And how did you and Heinz Fridrich work together to strengthen the Integrated Product and Process Design program?
So we kind of came at it from different angles. So when Heinz retired from IBM, he'd been working for them for 43 years, and he was at a very, very high level. He had worldwide manufacturing and quality in his responsibilities and had over 100,000 people reporting through him. He had the management acumen, the instant credibility on multiple fronts, on ethics and process and so forth, had solved lots of big problems, but had been away from maybe the ground level engineering, boots on the ground, for a good bit of his career, even though he worked his way up through the company that way. So I was coming in as a young recruit here out of industry, having worked in the more the project engineering and design engineering role. So I was much more familiar with the individual tools and some of the details of the processes. Heinz had the big picture overall process. So it made a really nice mesh for the two of us working together early. And I have continued to learn from Heinz. I value him as a mentor, and the 15 years I've been here, he's continues to provide a source of inspiration and guidance when I run into thorny issues that are out of my beyond my pay grade.
Well, and you, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I was pleased to see that you are a UF PhD.
Oh, I am. I'm a Gator through and through.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about your educational experience here and how that prepared you for your current work?
Absolutely. So I graduated in 1985 in mechanical engineering with a bachelor's degree, and then I went to work for Pratt & Whitney down in the West Palm Beach area doing gas turbine design on jet fighter aircraft. And I spent 5 years with them. And while I was doing that, I took a distance learning program. It's now called UF Edge, but at the time it's Feeds, and we took our classes over videotapes. And I got my master's degree that way. And I got a bug to get my doctorate, and there was an opportunity to do a little early retirement there. And so I did. I sort of retired early in my career there from Pratt & Whitney and started at my PhD program here at UF in 1992. One of the things that was interesting about that start into the PhD program was the university was engaging in a coalition of other universities in the Southeast in a program called Succeed. And it was targeted at revitalizing engineering education, sponsored by the National Science Foundation. A former co-worker of mine who was from a fellow graduate student, we actually worked together on a proposal for a design and build class targeted at freshman students. So we would teach them a high-level industry best practice process that they could apply to something very simple, like designing garden sheds. We partnered up with Habitat for Humanity, and so the students would work together and design and build these sheds. They had to go through and have a panel of industry folks review their work and had to defend their work and so forth. It was really fantastic training, getting to work with the students, partnering with the electrical engineering department to provide some mentoring and other things for the students and get them registered in courses and so forth together. But that was a very satisfying experience. For a graduate student, first off, to get a grant and be successful in that process and run that program for a couple of years, that was really very enlightening. After I finished my PhD program, I actually had Jack Elzinga, who was at that time the chair of Industrial and Systems Engineering, was on my PhD committee. And Jack and I kept in contact after I went back out into industry. I worked for Carrier Corporation. Jack brought me back on campus one time to do a guest seminar for his manufacturing systems program. And at that time, IPPD had been underway for about 2 years. And I saw some of the projects they were working on. I was just blown away. And in fact, it reminded me that he had shown me a piece of paper, or actually a little a report that Heinz had been working on while I was finishing up my doctorate. He said, "Keith, you might want to take a look at this." And it was a benchmarking study that Heinz had done to start the process of mapping an industry best practice process for product development into an academic program. I thought, well, this is really neat, but I didn't think much of it. Well, fast forward a few years later, I'd been working for Carrier Corporation for 3 years. I transferred back down to Pratt & Whitney, and I happened to bump into Jack Elzinga at just before lunch. They were running a little, not really a career fair, but they had sort of an educational fair there at the plant. And Jack was recruiting for his outreach engineering management program. And he said, "Say, Keith, do you know anybody that might be interested in this job?" And he handed me a piece of paper with a job description on it for an associate director for this IPPD program. And I read it quickly and I said, "Yes, I think I know someone who would be interested in this." And I called some people that were on the search committee that I knew, John Zeigert and Suleiman Tefechi, and spoke with them and applied for the program. And within a few months, I was hired. It was for me, this was like a dream come true. It was this beautiful fit between industry and academics, and it was cool coming back to the university as the industry guy. So that's sort of my start in the program.
Right. Now you have a unique vantage point to be able to kind of think about the program as it's changed over time, some of the continuities, some of the newer things. So what do you think is the biggest difference between IPPD when you first started and the program now?
I think there's several elements. One is we've added an entrepreneurial element to the program where we're now, most of our projects are all sponsored by industrial clients. So we work with Harris Corporation or Lockheed Martin or Disney or whomever, and they sponsor a project team and provide the project, and then we put together an expert faculty member to be a mentor, a coach for the team, and then gather the students. Our entrepreneurial program is a little different. We partner up with the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation and Office of Technology Licensing. We find a UF technology that is in need of help moving it along a commercialization roadmap. And we partner with the inventor. We find an external person to serve as a CEO, and we actually form a little virtual company, a little virtual startup company. And we call this our ITV program. So we're all geeked out with all these acronyms. We can't help ourselves. It's just part of the engineering culture. But in ITV, we have a team of students that are actually registered in IPPD to design and build a prototype. We have a team of business students that are in the master's level in the entrepreneurship program that perform market studies. They put together investor presentations. They finalize a business plan. And then we bring in students from the law school that are in the intellectual property track to be consultants with the teams to help them with non-disclosure agreements, with patent searches, with freedom to operate explorations. It's really provided just a fantastic learning experience. So we try to sort of simulate a startup company within the confines of the university. So I think that's probably the largest thing you could put your finger on. other areas, things that Heinz got started, but we just took it further, is taking on more software-oriented projects and developing software development processes that would work for our program. And then I think the last thing is something I'm particularly proud of is a lot of focus on professionalism. So, and some things that just happened by chance, and having the right people on the bus and letting them figure out where to drive it is a great thing. And my staff has been tremendous in helping me out with this. The faculty mentors that we have in the program have been tremendous. But a few years ago, we changed our classroom format. We used to meet 3 times a week for an hour. And we spent a lot of time talking to the students and not enough of them doing things in the classroom. So we thought, well, we're going to change that. So we moved to a once a week for 3 hours. And you absolutely cannot lecture for 3 straight hours. So we break this up with short lectures, student presentations, a little mini exercise in the classroom, and then have the students report out. So spending a little bit more time on the report out part of it and the communications. But to do this, we gave up a lot of lecture content. Students would say, that's fine, Dr. Stanfill. So what we did instead was we put together a little training programs, kind of a little boot camp. And the first couple of weeks of class, they do this thing outside a classroom where they have to learn how to use our collaboration tools. They learn about how to do team travel, how to purchase things, what are export controls, what does it mean when I see this on a website? Can I continue working on the project? We have ethics case studies that we've put together from real experiences from past project teams and have them work through these. They get a certificate in preventing sexual harassment. So just like if they were a new employee with UF, they'd have to get go through that program. And then we've added an element of identifying at-risk students. So identifying their classmates that may be having some kind of difficulties that they're not managing. The stress level is a problem. They're not showing up for class. They're not contributing. They're not communicating in some fashion. And some help in what to do about that. So essentially, we've really started kind of a new hire orientation program. And we've gotten really good feedback from our industry partners that this is the kind of stuff they love to see because it just adds another level of polish to our graduates.
What are some of as the program has developed, I understand that you've developed certain traditions. What are some of the IPPD time-honored traditions?
Well, I'd say something that we've done over the last 5 or 6 years, I think that have really become a nice creative outlet for the students is part of their presentation of their project is not only to be able to do an oral presentation or to have a PowerPoint show or to stand in front of a poster and talk about their presentation or to demonstrate their product, but they also have to do videos now. And we have them do two forms of the video. One kind of a little trailer or teaser, about 15 or 20 seconds that they might put into a PowerPoint presentation. And then one that's about 2 minutes long that can then be used as somewhat for archival purposes. And these are really fun. The creativity level that we've seen from the students has been just fantastic. And they enjoy showing these in class and getting feedback from their peers. And so I think that's a fun part of the process. I think the other just part of the traditions, though, are when we see the maturing of the team and the students, how they stop waiting to be asked to do things. So they take initiative, volunteer for assignments, even realizing I'm not good at that, so I'm going to volunteer to do it because I want to learn that. I think that's a fantastic testament to their character and development.
In fact, that leads to our next question. The boilerplate question is, describe a time when one of your IPPD students gained value from the program. I suspect you could probably describe more than one.
I have a favorite story along those lines. we did a project for Lockheed Martin back around 2001 or 2002, and the idea was to provide a small sensor package that could be launched from a paintball gun and potentially could be used to explore improvised explosive devices. So something you could get a good standoff distance, fire it from a paintball gun. It would have chemical sniffers on there to figure out whether there might be accelerants or something like that. Could be vibration sensors. It could be microphone. Could any type of thing. And Lockheed had, when we were working on the specification for the project, Lockheed had indicated, I think you need a couple of electrical engineers for this project. Well, I didn't have a couple of electrical engineers. I had one. So at the end of the project, the one electrical engineer on the team came to my office, and he said, Dr. Stanfill, I just wanted to share something with you here. Lockheed said from day one that we needed 2 EEs, and I was the only one. And I didn't know how to do radio frequency design. I didn't know how to lay out a printed circuit board. I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to do that. And I had to knock on the doors of all these faculty members in electrical engineering, and I had to network with engineers at Lockheed Martin, we finally figured out how to get it done, but it was hard. And I just paused for a second. I said, gee, I hope everybody has it as hard as you did. Because that's what we're looking for. That when you have a job, you're given a job to do. You're not given, I don't care what your prerequisites are. You've got to figure out how to get it done. So I thought it was just a great testament to his character, perseverance, and solving the problem.
Yeah, that's a great story. Now, Keith, you talked a lot about mentorship as being a real important part of the IPPD program. What are the top attributes of an IPPD coach? So
this is interesting. We build the whole IPPD program is built on a mentorship model, and it started with Heinz mentoring me, and also mentoring the faculty coaches that worked for him, and then in turn we work together to problem solve, and then pass those learnings down to the project teams. But I would say that key elements. This is much different than a typical academic exercise where, for the students, this is quite different, where there's a very strict rubric grading scale. You get a point for this, you get a point for that, you get a point for this, and it all adds up, and your score at the end determines your grade. Well, life isn't like that. And so, first off, I think it's really valuable to have coaches, mentors that have that flexibility and can convey this idea that I may be keeping a mental score, but I'm not going to give you points. I think the other attributes is we also ask our students to do a lot of planning. They're not used to looking over the horizon 6 months down the road to do things. Planning horizon tends to be what's happening this week, when is my next exam, and so forth. And actually, for many of our faculty, we were never trained in project management techniques and very, disciplined project management techniques. So I think for our coaches, it's been a learning process for all of it, myself included, even though coming out of industry, having to practice that process. It's been important to take that to heart and to learn those lessons and then reinforce it with the students. I think patience and impatience both are virtues. So patience in providing students enough time to make their own mistakes, because you have to burn and learn a little bit here. We talk about letting the magic smoke out of the circuit, and once you've let the smoke out, you can't put it back. You have to actually rebuild it. And then on the other side is this kind of impatience with mediocrity. So just not accepting substandard work. And it's an interesting conflict for us as mentors because we serve a couple of roles. It's difficult being both the mentor, which is the person who's trying to build you up and guide you and steer you and so forth, but then also being the evaluator. And it's sort of a built-in conflict of interest. And I know I struggle with this as well because I know that my student has had some kind of an issue, personal issue. Maybe they've been injured or something like that, or there's a family issue or something like that. But then again, they're maybe not pulling their weight, and we struggle with how do I effectively evaluate their contribution given what we know about them. And so this is a tough thing. Some are very straightforward with it. You may interview a few of mine who are very they know exactly, but others are much. It's a squishy thing.
The flip side of that, what are the top attributes of an IPPD student?
So the ones that I've enjoyed having the most have been folks who are not concerned about the grade. They're concerned about the experience, the quality of the experience, and the opportunity to learn. We talked a little earlier about students maybe not wanting to go to lecture. There are some students that, wow, this is boring. You're making me eat sawdust here. And others go, wow, I never knew that. I had no appreciation that electrical engineers did this or a chemical engineer did that or whatever. So I love students that have this thirst for knowledge. It's all about lifelong learning. So I think that's a key element. I think the other is striking a balance between good enough and perfect. We're driven in academia to be perfect, but that's not life. Good enough is often what is needed. And at some point, you have to stop engineering the system and deliver. So I think that's an important attribute. And then I would say emotional intelligence is another key attribute. So being respectful of other team members, learning how to encourage them in a positive way, and to admonish them in a way that leads to positive results. And that's not much we can do about that program or that aspect of their training other than provide them plenty of opportunities to practice.
Dr. Stanfill, as you think about the development of the program, what have been some of the important IPPD innovations over time?
If I look at strictly on a project basis, we've had a number of projects that have won some international awards. Starting back in 2000, we had a team that was working with Bear Archery here in town to design and build a broadhead slotting machine. And they won American Society of Mechanical Engineering Manufacturing Design Award. It was an international competition. They won first place. And there was undergraduates and graduate students competing. We had a project a few years later that was sponsored by Medtronic Zomed to come up with a packaging machine to package nasal sponges that are used in surgery. And the students came up with this kind of a Dr. Seuss machine. You dump this bag of these little sponges in these hoppers, and out they come, all aligned and compressed like they needed to be, and packaged and so forth. Wonderful project. Again, they entered and won that competition. We had a project a couple of years after that to print digital images on the sides of paper memo cubes. And that was sponsored by BIC Graphics. And again, we entered and won that competition. And those are kind of neat because you get some national recognition. there have been many outstanding projects over the course of the years. During the Final Four and the national championship in 2006, when basketball was winning their first national championship, they were playing UCLA for the national title, and we had one of our prototypes, a carotid artery imaging coil set for an MRI machine that was being tested at the UCLA Medical Center during the national championship. Had UF stickers all over it, of course. And what I think is really just fantastic is there are some projects that we've done that I think many master's level students would steer away from because they realize how hard it is. And I think our students, or the undergraduate, they're not scarred veterans yet, right? So they really don't know any better sometimes. And they will absolutely give you the shirt off their back trying to get this problem solved and working hard. So those are the things that I remember the most about projects and project teams, the ones that really gave it just this extraordinary effort.
Well, as you're thinking about believe it or not, the 20th anniversary of the program coming up on the horizon, what do you see as the future of IPPD? What are some of your hopes for as it develops into the future?
So I would I guess a couple of them are I would like to see us get a little bit larger sized program. I think we should be at around 30 projects a year annually. That should be kind of our norm, and we're about 5 or 6 projects below that right now. So that would allow us to reach out to some more students. And I would see as one of the growth areas there would be reaching out a little bit more into the biomedical area. So I would love to see some more development, and we're taking steps in that direction. I think another area is currently in planning phase right now is a new building called the Nexus Building for the College of Engineering. And it's all about innovation and collaboration. And I think it's going to be a showcase facility. And so I'm excited that IPPD is going to have a home in that area. And I think the other part of it is I just want us to continue being recognized as an innovative program that industry values, that they look upon what we're doing here as a model program, and that they're encouraging their other university partners to mimic what we're doing in some way.
Great. If you could say one thing to the IPPD community and to future engineers, what would it be?
Are we now asking for one word or just a...
It can be more that's the next one.
Oh, that's the next one. Okay, very
so
good.
You have as much as yeah.
I guess what I would say is, and especially I would say this especially to students, is seize the opportunities that are before you. Every year we offer a portfolio of projects for the students to choose from, and there's some of them that are just more on paper seem more exciting and sexy. Oh gosh, I want to work on the Disney project. Cool. But it turns out that all the projects are really fantastic. And I think rather than hanging your head and saying, well, I didn't get the one I wanted, I think I'm going to drop out, I think it's more of, okay, what can I learn from this? There's several things I want to get out of this program, and I'm going to seize the day. So I love to see that kind of attitude. Learning takes place in a lot of different ways. It's not just in the classroom, and you have to take risks. And taking risks is how when you're in industry, you're evaluated on your risk taking. So there's very few mistakes that you can make academically that you can't recover from, at least through the IPPD program. So once you put the effort in, you're going to be rewarded.
Now we are down to that.
Now the word.
Yeah, describe the IPPD program in one word.
Perseverance.
Wonderful. And why perseverance? What is it?
I have a Calvin Coolidge quote on my wall that I look at every day, and essentially summarizes this idea that, and maybe persistence is a better word than perseverance. In fact, I'm gonna substitute that word, persistence. Since I look at it every day, I should know it's persistence. But it's really the mark of getting things done. Great ideas are an absolute dime a dozen. It's all about implementation. It's that persistence to get it done. There's plenty of geniuses out there, but it's the ones that actually, innovators are ones that take a good idea. It doesn't have to be a great idea. It just has to be a good idea, and they build on it. And they're sort of that little Jack Russell Terrier on a pant cuff that's just not going to let go until they get this thing, get you dragged over to see what it is they want you to see, to do what they want you to do. And I think that's just a great lesson to learn. I love to see that kind of attitude. It's just a mentality.
Dr. Stanfill, as we wrap up, are there any final thoughts that you have, or anything you'd like to share that we haven't touched upon?
I guess just to sort of maybe summarize, I think things that are really special about the IPPD program. One is that we're built on this mentorship model, and two, that we've developed a process where we consistently deliver solid results. And it's not easy to manage. It's just not magic. It's not that the companies give us money and then all of a sudden things happen. There's a lot of decision making, a lot of moving parts. I reflect back on this past year's program, and there were over 700 team meetings with faculty members and students. There were over probably 2,500 hours of faculty time involved. There were over 40,000 hours of student time for 140 students over this past 8 months. That's just a lot going on. I've been working with some other universities to help them start a program, and it's difficult. It's very difficult, and just the fact that you have some funding doesn't make it happen. It really takes this whole team. It takes a lot of feedback. It takes a lot of criticism. It takes a lot of being willing to make changes. And I think we've been successful in doing this for 19 years, and we've never been perfect. We've been roughly right and fast and stayed agile and changed the course where we needed to keep it happening. So when you have such wonderful support here, the administration of the university, the dean of the College of Engineering, the department chairs, our industry partners, we just have tremendous support, and I think part of it is we've developed this track record for success, and companies keep coming back to us year after year, and the students keep looking to this as a premier experience for to cap off their undergraduate education.
All right. Well, Keith, thank you so much for coming in and talking with me today, and it's been a learning experience for me, and I wish you the best of success for the next 20 years.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.